It's lovely to be here today at Havas offices with Tom Casswell. How has your week been so far?
Yeah, really good. Busy. We're working towards kind of 2017 now, which is always a kind of exciting and busy time for clients and for agencies. So lots going on, but it's exciting.
And there's going to be a big change for you guys, right? You're going to be relocating.
Yeah, that's right. So Havas Media and Creative Groups are merging into Havas Village in February next year. So we're moving to a brand new building in King's Cross, which is going to be incredible. At the moment, we're split out across lots of different buildings across London. So putting it all together is going to be very exciting for New Year.
Fab. So looking at some of the stories of the week, Snapchat has been one of the main stories that they've decided that instead of paying publishers depending on the content they put out, they're going to pay them a kind of flat rate. Do you think that's something that the industry is going to adopt more and more?
Potentially. I think the issue for publishers is that people like Snapchat and Facebook are now controlling the way that people access news. So whereas in the past we went online and searched around for news, we now go in through avenues such as Snapchat, through Twitter and through Facebook. So the more they control the people's access to the news, the more control they're going to have over how it's charged, how advertising is bought against that. So it's only going to get more and more difficult for publishers, I think, to control their costs.
Well, and looking at another publisher, we've had The Atlantic this week has moved in the direction of Axel Springer and said that unless people pay to see content, anyone with an ad blocker on is going to get blocked from seeing their content. Is this something you think will be more widely adopted within the industry?
Yeah, I think potentially so. I think that there's certain titles like The Atlantic, the Wall Street Journals and FTs this world that will always kind of control, I guess, a little bit more their cost because they have premium content, it's very niche, it's very specialist. Where I would see the big issue would be the broader publishers who sit in the middle, the Mail Onlines and the Suns and what have you, who have a lot of kind of clickbait, picture and video heavy content, and that's the kind of thing that could actually be replicated anywhere. It's available on BuzzFeed, it's available on Facebook and what have you, and they'll struggle more and more, I think, to control how their audience access their site, and ad blocking is going to feed into that for sure. The key thing for me is what it says about people's attitudes and consumers' attitudes towards advertising. I think a lot of people are sick of too many ads, and I think we're past, I remember growing up and watching the 100 greatest ads on Channel 4 and that being a real thing, and we're so far past that now, and no one wants to kind of celebrate or I guess enjoy advertising anymore unless they work in the industry, and that should be a big wake-up call, I think, for the industry.
Obviously, a main story of the week in the news has been the ongoing presidential saga, let's say. So have you been following it, and what's your thoughts?
Yeah, bits and pieces. What I found really interesting about it, I was watching Michelle Obama's speech from the New Hampshire rally from last week, and what I loved about it was I think there's a lot of focus on how people use social, how people use the media in general to get their message across, both in terms of advertising but in terms of their speeches. But what I loved about that was it came across as being very genuine, being unrehearsed, which of course it wasn't, but it was like the opposite of the sort of House of Cards thing that you might see, which was where everything's kind of prepared and there's an agenda behind it. And what I loved about that was it was essentially half an hour of content, which then people have gone online and shared through Twitter. I found it through Facebook, through a friend sharing it, and I guess it's the power of great storytelling and the power of great content is that it will find its way to people if it's sticky enough, if it's interesting enough, and if it evokes an emotional response, which when I watched that speech it did for me. So God knows what it did for the people who are in the room on the day. And that is a lesson for advertising, I think. If you want to have people share your content, like it, tweet it, whatever, it has to be rooted in something real, genuine and emotional.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for talking to us, and have a lovely weekend.